On this Monday night, honoring the victims of the tragedy in Vancouver. The tributes to those killed at the cultural festival and the fundraisers for their families. It is election night in Canada.
It's going to be close.
The battle for supremacy between the Liberals and Conservatives, and how victory could come at the expense of the NDP. Plus, without power, what's caused electricity to fail across Portugal, Spain, and parts of France.
Global National with Dawna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. After a campaign unlike any other, voters are choosing who will represent them in Canada's Parliament. All the party leaders have cast their ballots. Liberal leader Mark Carney in his Ottawa riding and Conservative leader Pierre Polyv right next door in his. The Bloc Québécois leader and the NDP leader are vying for third place, and the Green Party is hoping to hold onto its 2 seats. After 35 days of campaigning, it all comes down to what choices voters make today. We begin, though, in Vancouver and the tragedy at a Filipino cultural festival on Saturday night. At least 11 people were killed, dozens of people injured when the driver of an SUV drove into the crowd. Neetu Garcha is in Vancouver. Neetu.
Dawna, as we learn more about the victims of the Lapu Lapu festival tragedy just down this street behind me, people are coming to growing memorials like this one to pay their respects. For so many, the horror of Saturday night is still sinking in. They're trying to find solace in solidarity.
To express solidarity, basically, with people that are going through so much suffering. And to not be consumed by dark thoughts, but to rather be together.
A father, Richard Lay, mother Lynn Huang, and 5-year-old daughter Katie Lay were among those killed. They leave behind a 16-year-old son who didn't attend the event. Kira Salim, identified by the New Westminster School District as a middle school teacher counselor, an online post saying they were an epic drag performer, a wonderful, exuberant contributor, activist, and mental health worker who will be deeply missed. Riza, described as a dedicated mother and sister, was also killed. The family now raising money to return her body to the Philippines. Val de la Cruz and his son Jeb, not yet 2 years old, are among dozens of others in hospital. A fundraising page says both have serious injuries.
We're just enjoying, yeah.
That's witness Bjorn Villarule in the crowd at the festival. He told us this energy would be shattered less than 20 minutes after this moment when he went to the street lined with food trucks and people.
Just like accelerating, plowing more people, and I've seen my people flying, and I saw one baby and there's toddler and all that. It's just horrific.
Bystanders confronted the driver of the black SUV that plowed into the crowd at the family event. He didn't respond. Witnesses held him until police arrived.
I am lost for words. I'm still processing everything, and I hope it will not happen in the future.
The suspect, now identified as 30-year-old Kai G. Adam Lowe, is facing multiple murder charges. Lowe is known to police. Global news sources say his interactions with officers far exceed 50. Police didn't elaborate on the interactions, but say none of them led to involuntary care or hospitalization. Police say they completed a threat assessment before the event and decided not to deploy vehicle barricades. Liberal leader Mark Carney, BC Premier David Eby, and Vancouver Mayor Ken Sim were among those attending a vigil Sunday when the crowd started singing Amazing Grace.
We'll do everything what we can do to support them.
And a moment of silence at the BC Legislature Monday as a community grieves, with hopes this kind of loss never has to be felt again. Now, part of the event was held here on the grounds of John Oliver Secondary School, which is also a polling station today. But of course, even with the traffic and the steady stream of people, what happened over the weekend still looms large. Dawna?
Okay, Neetu Garcha in Vancouver, thank you. All the leaders said they were shocked by the tragedy in Vancouver and they sent their condolences. But today voting is carrying on. The Liberal leader has made it clear he believes President Trump poses an existential threat to Canada. And from the day Mark Carney took over from Justin Trudeau, that is how he framed his campaign. Mackenzie Gray is at the Liberals' headquarters in Ottawa.
In the final day of the campaign, Dawna, Mark Carney was the last leader off the trail, ending things in Victoria with an 11:30 p.m. rally.
Who's ready to help the Liberal Party win the most consequential election of our lifetimes?
Carney hit 5 different cities on the final day of the campaign before flying back to Ottawa on the red eye, landing just after 8 a.m. Eastern. Now, Carney touched on the Vancouver car attack at all his events on Sunday, but mainly talked about the central message of his campaign: who is best placed to take on Donald Trump, a strategy that's helped put the Liberals in the lead tonight, according to multiple different polls. That's led both Carney and his staff to be very happy for the majority of the final week, with one Liberal that I spoke with estimating they'll land in the 180-seat range, which is enough for a majority government. But other campaign staff that I've spoke with have cautioned that small changes in tight races across the Greater Toronto Area and BC could make the difference, Dawna, between forming government, winning a minority, or getting a majority, which is the strong mandate that Carney has asked Canadians for.
Okay, Mackenzie Gray in Ottawa, thank you. The fortunes of the federal Conservative Party had risen to great heights and fallen again in a matter of months, at least according to public opinion polls. Conservative leader Pierre Polyv will find out tonight what that means for his future and the future of the party. Taria Isri is at his election night headquarters, also in Ottawa. Taria.
Dawna, just months ago, a Conservative victory seemed all but certain. Then Justin Trudeau resigned, Donald Trump launched a trade war, and Mark Carney entered politics. Developments which have reshaped the race. But Pierre Polyv insists one thing that has not changed is the need to end the Liberal reign.
Who's voting for change?
Polyv ended his campaign in his Ottawa riding. He's held the seat there since 2004, becoming an MP at 25. Now, 20 years later, he's fighting to defy the polls and become Canada's next prime minister. His Liberal rival has focused heavily on the trade war with the U.S., while Polyv has zeroed in on the rising cost of living, building pipelines, and curbing crime. He became emotional at the finish line when he thanked his supporters.
I'm actually in awe, that so many people have put their hope that I can deliver for their future, for their lives. It means the world to me. Thank you.
Throughout the campaign, Polyev's rallies have drawn huge crowds. But will that translate into votes? We'll find out tonight at Conservative Party headquarters, where Polyv will learn his political future. Dawna?
Okay, Taria Isri in Ottawa, thanks. If the opinion polls are accurate, the NDP could be facing a difficult night. The party has been polling well behind the Liberals and Conservatives. Global's Richard Zussman is in BC, where the NDP leader Jagmeet Singh will be watching the results come in. Richard.
It's a fight for survival, Dawna, not just for the NDP, but for Jagmeet Singh himself. The NDP leader spending the last few days campaigning here in British Columbia, attempting to hold on to some of those seats the party won in this province last time around. If the polls hold up, this could be an historic defeat for the party. A chance that they could lose official party status, and Singh could lose his own riding here in Burnaby Central. Singh spending the last day of the campaign, Election Day, in Port Moody Coquitlam, one of those ridings the NDP is desperately trying to hold on to.
Because of voting NDP, we've been able to build this country. People have been able to build this country. Healthcare, pensions for seniors, it's because of you. We got to remind people, it's because you voted NDP. Even when we don't form a majority, we get stuff done like dental care.
Over recent days, Singh has been batting away questions around his own political future, saying he'll make a decision on that once the votes are counted. Dawna?
Okay, Richard Zussman in Burnaby, BC, thanks. Our chief political correspondent, David Aiken, is looking at the big picture for us tonight. David.
Well, Dawna, one of the things we're going to track tonight is the collapse of the NDP, and that likely benefits Liberals more than Conservatives. I've got a prediction tool behind me. We're going to map some things and see what happens when some of those orange seats flip somewhere else. Right now, we start the night 154, 128 for the Liberals. 172 is your magic number to get to a majority. Nunavut, Northern Manitoba, Northern Ontario. But it's not all that way NDP to Liberal. The Conservatives in Northwest BC are likely to win as well. If we go to the Lower Mainland, again, we see that the Conservatives will pick up on Vancouver Island, no question about it. But the Liberals are likely to pick up seats on the South Island. And then picking up again once we get to Jagmeet Singh seats and the downtown. It's maybe the same thing in southwestern Ontario, where Liberals may be poised to pick up Windsor, pick up Hamilton Centre, but the Conservatives might pick up in London Fanshawe. 165, 134, the NDP's down to 7. That's how the Liberals may find their way back to government. Majority, we don't know. People are still voting, but right now the collapse of the NDP is definitely a storyline the pollsters say we should be watching tonight. Dawna.
All right, David Aiken in Toronto, thanks. President Trump's threats and his trade war are looming over the election, and even some Quebec sovereigntists who would usually vote for the Bloc Québécois are switching to another party for this election. Mike Armstrong is in Montreal. Mike.
Well, Dawna, the Bloc Québécois has had a problem with traction in this campaign. Leader Yves-Francois Blanchet is on the ballot, but he hasn't really been part of the ballot question. In a campaign where many voters were picking the best leader to defend them against Donald Trump, Blanchet was never in the running. The Bloc usually campaigns saying it will give Quebecers a strong voice in Ottawa, but that isn't the issue people were voting on this time around. That said, the reviews of the Bloc campaign are strong. The party was the first to release its financial platform. It adapted its message after the debates, saying it wants to hold the balance of power. And Blanchet was very available, usually taking questions from journalists twice a day. Now, early on, there were projections the Bloc could be decimated, reduced to as few as 4 seats. That doesn't appear to be likely, though the party could drop some of its 33 seats. But Blanchet has made it very clear that under these circumstances, with the long shadow Donald Trump has cast over this campaign, even losing 5 or more MPs could still be a success. Dawna?
Okay, Mike Armstrong in Montreal, thank you. The Green Party of Canada is hoping to hold on to the 2 seats it won in the last election. Its central message wasn't a prominent part of this election campaign, even though surveys show Canadians still care deeply about the environment. Earlier today, Green Party co-leader Elizabeth May voted in her Vancouver Island riding. The chances of the other Green Party leader, Jonathan Pedneau, winning in his Montreal area seat are slim. What makes this election so extraordinary is that we've never had an American president try to take us over or own us. And while Donald Trump is not on the ballot, he has dominated the campaign. Mercedes Stevenson is with me now. Mercedes, how much has Trump influenced this election?
Dawna, the single biggest issue of this election campaign has been arguably Donald Trump and tariffs. He has dominated the discussion, and he flipped things on their head when it came to liberal popularity versus conservative popularity. And his presence in this campaign is something that continues right up into Election Day, with President Donald Trump inserting himself with a social media post. In it, he says, elect the man who has the strength and wisdom to cut your taxes in half, increase your military power for free, and goes on to say there'd be 0 tariffs if Canada becomes the cherished 51st state. Now, some folks were wondering, is he talking about Mark Carney there? Is he talking about Pierre Polyv? Well, it sounds like he's talking about himself because no one else has made those promises. But giving you a sense of how big of a factor he's been, Pierre Polyv felt the need to respond, and he actually tweeted, President Trump, stay out of our election. The only people who will decide the future of Canada are Canadians at the ballot box. And that is also because throughout this campaign, Pierre Polyv saw massive popularity and a 20-point lead drop over President Trump's threats against Canada and concerns that he may be similar to Donald Trump, despite him repeatedly differentiating himself. And in terms of the campaign, it has been the best thing that possibly could have happened for Mark Carney, who saw the Liberals go from highly unpopular to surging into first place. Back to you, Dawna.
Okay, Mercedes Stevenson, thanks. You can watch our coverage of the federal election right here on Global. Decision Canada starts at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, and on all of our streaming platforms. Election Day hiccups coming up. We'll show you why one polling station had to be evacuated. Plus, we look at the Liberals' chances of winning more seats in Tory blue Alberta. Thick smoke billowed from the roof of a sports centre in Windsor, Ontario today. It was being used as a polling station. Everyone did make it out safely, and the fire was contained shortly after. That polling station was moved to a nearby high school. Conservative support across Alberta and Saskatchewan is almost always a sure thing, but polling data this time suggests the Liberals may be able to pick up a few seats in Alberta. Heather Yurix West is in Calgary, where some tight races are expected. Heather.
Dawna, I'm in Calgary Confederation, one of 3 or 4 ridings expected to be nail-biters as the Liberals try to break through what has been a fortress of blue. In 2021, the Liberals elected just 2 MPs, one in Calgary, one in Edmonton. This time, they're hoping for more. But within the oil and gas sector and the business community, many of the policies of Pierre Polyv's Conservatives are really resonating, especially the promise to repeal Bill C-69, dubbed the No More Pipelines Act, and the emissions cap for the oil and gas sector. Still, there are progressive votes in both cities, and Mark Carney has been going after those. Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith making it no secret that she is rooting for a Conservative federal government. And if there is another Liberal mandate, she says she will put together a post-mortem election what's next panel to consider potential referendum questions for Alberta, including the controversial topic of separation. Dawna?
Okay, Heather Yurix West in Calgary, thank you. State of emergency ahead. A complete power outage hit Spain, Portugal, and parts of France. Spain, Portugal, and some parts of France are still struggling to restore power after a huge outage hit the entire region. It is one of the biggest losses of electricity in Europe's history, and it affected tens of millions of people. The outage hit trains, airports, it cut phone services, caused the cancellation of sporting events, and shut down traffic lights and ATMs. Spain is now under a state of emergency. The country's prime minister says there is still no conclusive information on what caused the blackout. Portugal's energy grid operator is blaming extreme temperature variations in Spain's energy system, which it says caused a rare phenomenon known as induced atmospheric vibration across both countries' grids. The Portuguese operator warns it could take up to a week to fully restore power. The Russian president has declared a 72-hour ceasefire in Ukraine, timed to coincide with Russia's Second World War Victory Day commemorations next week and the defeat of Nazi Germany in 1945. Ukraine is calling for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire. Ukraine, which has previously agreed to a U.S. proposed ceasefire, is dismissing Putin's move as window dressing. The Vatican says the conclave to choose the next pope will be held on May 7th. About 130 cardinals are eligible to vote in a secret ballot, and a 2/3 majority is needed to elect the new head of the Roman Catholic Church. Pope Francis was laid to rest on Saturday. Decision Day next. What's at stake for Canada in tonight's vote? "2025 has already been a whirlwind in Canadian politics. We knew a federal election was coming at some point this year, but no one could have predicted where things stand at this moment in history. And whoever is chosen tonight to form government will steer the country through what is widely predicted to be a period of deep uncertainty. Eric Sorensen looks at how we got here and what's at stake.
Can they do it one more time? A 4th consecutive election victory for the Liberals. It's not unheard of. Just over 20 years ago, the party changed leaders and won a 4th straight term in office. And yet, if 4 Conservative leaders in a row lose, it will be an especially painful outcome for that party.
Let's bring it home!
Just months ago, the Conservatives were poised to sweep into government in 2025. Pierre Polyv was flying high as Prime Minister Trudeau's fortunes sank. But then Trudeau left.
I would love to see Canada be the 51st state.
And Donald Trump, the U.S. president, jumped into Canada's affairs, even threatening annexation of our country. By the time Liberals chose Mark Carney, Trump had already made himself an unsettling figure in the Canadian election to come. For Carney, the ballot question became, who should deal with Trump?
President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us.
Polyv sought to keep Canadians and his big crowds focused on what he felt was the main issue, the need for a new party in power.
We have to choose hope over fear. We have to choose change for a brighter future.
Polls suggested some nationalists in Quebec feared what Trump would mean for their culture, the smaller parties making a plea to voters to give them a voice in the next parliament.
Vote for a New Democrat.
And now it comes down to this day, the 45th national election in our history. There are more of us now, 40 million Canadians, and over 28 million eligible voters, and more seats in Parliament to fill than ever before, 343. So 172 is the new threshold for a majority. Will it be that, or something we've seen only once before in Canadian history, a third minority government in a row? Tonight, we find out. Dawna?
Eric Sorensen, thank you. That is Global National for this Monday, Election Day. I'm Dawna Friesen. Stay with us. Our election night coverage begins in just seconds right here on Global and on all our streaming platforms.